Okay, so we are continuing with the next Mishnah in Pirkei Avos. This is chapter 4, Mishnah 5. Again, count is always uncertain in Pirkei Avos. I'm calling this 5. This is going to start off like a normal Pirkei Avos year, but it's going to get different. Okay, because as I said in the teaser, our goal really is going to be to focus on the Rambam because the Rambam has a very famous position, and this is the first place where he talks about it. So we'll start off normal. And then we'll clarify the scope of tonight's year. As you can see here on the screen, I have what we will aim to cover, what we will not aim to cover, because I want to make sure like this can get out of hand if it's not if the parameters aren't set ahead of time. Okay, so our version of the Mishnah says Rabbi Tzadok Omer al ta'asim atara lihiz gadol behem v'lo kardom lachbor behem. Okay, and the them ta'asim is words of Torah. Okay, so do not make words of Torah. So Tara lihis gadol behem. How do you say that? Yeah, Tamar?
A crown to make yourself great through
Yep.
them.
A crown through which to make yourself great. Okay. Velo kardom lachbor behem, nor a anyone know what a kardom lachbor behem is? I think I've seen a couple of translations. Yeah, Tamar?
I'm guessing it's some sort of shovel.
Yeah, that's what I would translate as. Nor a shovel to dig with them. Okay. V'kach haya Hillel Omer. This is what Hillel would say. Okay, and this is an Aramaic statement because Hillel spoke Aramaic. Udish tamish betaga chalaf. One who makes use of the crown. Okay, and this is talking about the crown of Torah. Um, I think chalaf means like I think it literally means to be snatched. Let me just check the English on the one who will pass on, he says. Okay, fine. Chalav is like, I mean, yeah, Chalav is like literally to switch, but it means to like pass away. Okay, will pass away. Okay, halamadata. So you learn from here. Kol hanehene midivrei Torah notel chai bin olam. How do you translate that? Yeah, Tamar.
Anyone who benefits from words of Torah, his life is, I don't know, passed from the world.
Close. His life, Natilas Lulav,
Like shaken, like moved.
taken, taken. Yeah, his life is taken from the world. Yeah. Okay. So that's our Mishnah. Okay, let's just see if the Kaufman edition of the Mishnah, which is more accurate, has anything significantly different. So the Kaufman edition says, oh yeah, okay, this is different. I don't know if this is going to matter, but I did see this reference when I was preparing. So this is the um Kaufman edition. So Rabbi Tzadok Omer, Rabbi Tzadok says, Al tasim atarlis gadabahem, do not make words of Torah a crown through which to make yourself. Oops, sorry, I said great. Great. It's because I was worried about finishing my senior grades. That's really funny. Okay. You also shouldn't grade based on Torah, but that's a separate rant. Okay. The lo cardam lo, that's a weird conjugation. Lochal mehen. Okay. Nor in axe, or sorry, a shovel. Oh, actually, let me. Did the Mishnah translation that I just looked at on All Torah say axe or shovel? Oh, spade. Okay, fine. Nor a shovel to eat from. Okay, I don't think it means to shovel into your mouth. It means like a shovel that you're using for work and then to eat from. V'kach haya Hillel Omer. Thus did Hillel say, "V'di yishtamish b'taga chalaf." Okay, the rest of it's the same. Okay, fine. So it's just to eat with, or to eat from. Um, that's the only difference. Okay, fine. Okay, so what are the questions here? And I think everyone learns that these two statements go together. Yeah, Lauren?
Um, I guess like what's the difference, I guess, between like a crown to make yourself great and like a shovel to dig with them? Like what do they
Yeah.
mean by that
Okay,
about Torah?
so let's say this. Why let's break it into two questions. One is what message is being expressed through Rav Tzadok's I guess what idea is being expressed through Rav Tzadok's message? And why does he use these two specific examples or like metaphors? I don't know if you want to call them a metaphor. Yeah, Ayala?
What exactly are each of those two metaphors referring to?
Yeah.
So, like specifically.
Right. Okay. Yeah, actually, let's break this into two questions here. Yeah, I'm not sure if your question, I'm not exactly sure if your question is different, so I'm going to put it in the same one as Lauren's. What does each of these metaphors express? Okay. What else? Yeah, Lauren?
I guess like for Hillel's statement, what do they mean by benefit from words from Torah? Because like I thought we are supposed to benefit from
Right.
Torah.
What does Hillel mean when he, or I guess what is the inferred statement from Hillel mean that by benefit from words of Torah? Okay, isn't that what we're supposed to do? Tomorrow?
I guess like what's this relationship that's being expressed with the kach? It seems like two different ideas.
Yeah, right. Okay, what is the relationship between Rabbi Tzadok's statement, Hillel's statement, and the inference from Hillel's statement? From his statement. Yeah. Yeah, meaning that like clearly the subject is the same, but what does each clause add? Yeah, Vanessa?
Does the Rabbi Tzadok statement contradict Hillel's at all? Like Hillel saying like already uses a crown of Torah, but Rabbi Tzadok says don't
Oh,
make
that's
a crown of
interesting.
Torah at all.
That is interesting. I never noticed that. Okay, so is there a contradiction between Rabbi Tzadok who speaks of making the Torah into a crown, and Hillel who speaks of using the crown? Is that what you're saying? Like both of them have crown? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Good.
exactly.
Yeah. And we might as well ask also, what do we mean by crown of Torah in this context? Yael?
What is the nature of the punishment? No tachem min ha'olam.
Okay, right.
And why is it this punishment?
Yeah. Okay. I just added a question here to the last one, which is what do we mean by crown of Torah, and why not just say Torah, like the third clause? Okay. Right. Both Hillel speaks of the crown, and he speaks of making into a crown. Sorry, Reb Tzadok speaks of making the crown. Hillel speaks of using the crown, and then the last one speaks of words of Torah itself. Okay, and then Ayala's question is, what exactly is this? I'm going to call it a outcome instead of a punishment, because I'm not sure if it's a punishment or a consequence of. I'm going to also add in Hillel's statement, chalaf. Oops, sorry, chalaf. Where are we? And noto chai min ha'olam, and his life is taken from the world. And we'll add here, is it this world, the next world, or both? Right? Okay. What else? Yeah, Lauren?
This is more like a methodology question, but more
Yeah.
about like why does it have Hillel's statement and Rabbi Tzadok's statement in the same mishnah?
Yeah.
Is that common for Pirkei Avos to have
Okay,
two
so I'll show you how weird it is.
tanas?
Yeah, that's a good methodology question, which I'm not going to be able to answer. So, Rabbi Tarfon lived in third generation of Mishnah sages, and then Hillel was what generation? Huh. Well, he lived earlier, right? It says he lived, he died in 10 CE, whereas Rabbi Tarfon lived into the fall of Beitar, which is 135, right? So the order, the chronology is weird. Okay, right? So let's just say here, why did I guess it's Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, who arranged this, combine a statement of Hillel with Rabbi Tarfon, given that they lived in different periods. Now I'm probably not going to answer that. I mean, I'm going to give my answer right now, just since it is a separate methodology question, which is that I have seen Pirkei Avos in the past mess around with the chronology and order of Tanaim when the subjects go together. So here it's like you've got this statement from Hillel. I don't know why it leads with Rabbi Tarfon, by the way, but or why Hillel's is not earlier. Like
Rabbi Tarfon or Rabbi Tzadok?
Oh, sorry, Tzadok. Thank you for correcting me. Otherwise, this would have gone uncorrected. Rabbi Tzadok. When did he live? Is this the one? Elazar bar Tzadok, son of Rabbi Tzadok. Okay, yeah. So yeah, this makes much more sense. Rabbi Tzadok was later. Actually, no, it doesn't make sense. Whatever. Rabbi Tzadok was later. Okay, second generation. No. Rabbi Tzadok was the second generation. I really don't know my chronology here. I think this is later than Hillel, though. Yeah, what I was gonna say though is that that I've seen statements pulled from a different chronology and placed together because they're the same subject. So my guess is that that's why he did it. But I'll tell you, the other methodology is the one who takes this up is the Rashbat, who is he on Al Torah? No. Right. Oh, he is. Okay. You know what we're gonna do? Hold on. Let's just actually, you know what we're gonna do here? Let's just usually he does it in the beginning. Okay. Let's just have ChatGPT translate this and just read some biographical information. Okay. Please translate this. Watch how fast ChatGPT 4.0 goes, by the way. It's just crazy. Okay. Oh, so it looks like he does not start off the way he usually does. Oh, here we go. He does. Here we go. He says, the interpretation of Rashi, may his memory be blessed, changes the version and reads, we do not give him. Okay, that's from the last Mishnah. Hold on a second here. Okay, this is interpreted. Okay, here he goes. He says this interpretation is supported by the. So he's connecting to the last, the one we did last week. This interpretation is supported by the words of Rabbi Tzadok, who said, "Do not make them a crown to magnify yourself with. For if not for this, why were these teachings placed together?" Rabbi Tzadok was before Rabbi Yishmael, the son of Rabbi Yochanan ben Baroka, since Rabbi Tzadok was in the time of the temple, as mentioned in the first chapter of Yuma, and at the time of the destruction, as mentioned in the Agada and Hanazikin, and in Eicha Rabasi, and in the days of Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Yoshua, as mentioned in Bechoros. And it appears that Rabbi Yishmael was much later, since Rabbi Yochanan, his father, was in the days of Rabbi Eliezer. Okay, see, this is the type of thing that he does. I'm not going to get involved with this, but just so you know, the Rashbat does that kind of thing. Okay, and also just so you know, I know I've been trying to say this in all my shiurim. I believe now ChatGPT 4.0 is available for free for everyone. So I think it's just that if you pay, you get longer chains. And you might also get infinite use, whereas I think free version doesn't. But it is so good at translation now. I mean, it is crazy just how every couple months it just gets better and better, and it's like I'm finding fewer and fewer mistakes. It's insane. Okay, back to our questions. Oh, so to answer your question, Lauren, so I think it's probably just placed together because thematically they're related or the ideas are related. But the one to talk to is the Rashbat because he usually addresses that kind of question. And sometimes the Abravanel does as well. Okay, Vanessa.
The consequence seems weird. Like, it just says his life is taken. Like, one, is that meant literally that, like, if you do this, you die? Because we don't see that actually.
Okay.
If you mean
Right.
you're eventually going to die, all of us do. So why is this a punishment? It doesn't say we're going to get exiled. It's not like saying, like, you lose your chelik no olam haba. It's literally just saying you die.
Okay.
I feel like
That's a
I'm
good
missing
question.
something.
Yeah, right. So I'll tack this onto here. So is it in this world or in the next or both? Is this even true? When does this happen? Do we see this happen? Okay. Yeah. Esty.
Is there a difference between saying that a person's going to die and their life is taken from the world?
Yeah, that's a good question also. What is the particular implication of the phrase notel chayav, how do you spell chayav? Yeah, chayav min ha'olam, as opposed to like we've had before mischayev benafsho, right? Like he's liable for his life, or like chayev misa, he's liable for death, or some other deathly phrase. Yeah. Okay, Shira.
Yeah, I think this kind of goes along with that question, but I guess I'm just confused why it says for when it says will pass away, it says makes use of Torah, which
Yeah.
seems to be negative. But then for when it says his life is taken from the world, it says benefits from words
Right.
of Torah. But like
Okay.
seemingly benefiting from Torah is a good thing. So that's kind of
Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna tack that on to 3. So we said, what does the inferred statement? I guess I should say the statement inferred from Hillel mean in the 3rd clause. Okay, and then what is the relationship between benefiting and utilizing? Benefiting from words of Torah and utilizing the crown of Torah. Okay. All right. I feel like we have most of the main questions, if not all of them. I guess we have to ask also, to what extent is this Mishnah, for Hasidim in training, and to what extent does this apply to everyone, right? Because it's the last clause is definitely phrased as applying to anyone, but the first clause is not as clear. It doesn't say anyone who does this, whereas Hillel is also pretty all-encompassing. Okay, so as I mentioned, what we're going to do tonight is something different, which is we're going to aim to cover several things, okay? We're going to, actually, what we'll aim to do, okay, we're going to aim to do is read and discuss the Rambam's treatise on, I guess, this topic, okay, which is, I'm not even going to define the topic, okay, and try to understand as much as we can from this treatment of the topic, okay? If we have time, we'll see his codification. We'll learn his codification in the Mishneh Torah, okay? But what we will not do this time, okay, I don't know about next time. Oh man, you know what's funny? Okay, so strange. So I updated my phone to this trial of Google Gemini Advanced, which is its AI. Somehow it is much more sensitive to thinking I'm asking it questions. So it comes on in a lot of my shiurim now. Okay, I don't know. Anyway, so we will not aim to cover is the all the other sources where the Rambam addresses this. Okay. He addresses this in scattered other places. And if you are interested in that, so if you go to my Rambam Bekius podcast, I did a 5-hour series on this from October 7th, okay, 2021 to October 14th, 2021. I did it in 5 parts, and I think I went through all the sources on this topic. Okay, so if you're interested in like a deep dive, we'll do that. What we're also not going to do is hold on a second. Try to understand as much as we can from this treatment of the topic in the context of Avos, okay? But what we will not aim to cover is how all of this translates into practical halacha, okay? Because you'll see this is a very practical topic, but this is, how halachically, we do this is very, very complex, okay? Especially in contemporary practice. What we will not do this time is discuss the views of those who disagree with the Rambam. Okay, I'd like to do that next time. Okay, but it kind of depends on where we end up today. And I think there was one more thing I was not going to do. Okay, I think that's it for now. Okay, so basically we're going to focus. We're going to let the Rambam lead us, but we're going to remember that we're reading a commentary on Pirkei Avos, and not try to go beyond all of this into other areas. Okay, that's going to be the goal. And obviously, we're going to try to see at the end which of our questions he answers. Okay, so what I've done is I have so just basic reminder here. Rambam wrote his commentary on the Mishnah in Judeo-Arabic, okay, which by the way is it's not available here. Okay, in some places it's available on Al Torah, okay. The Al Torah translation into Hebrew from the Judeo-Arabic is done by Rav Yitzchak Shelat, who is one of the foremost living Rambam scholars. So he did his own translation. I'm used to using the Kafich edition, who is of the previous generation, okay, but I didn't have that online. So what I did was I copied and pasted Rav Shelat's edition, and then I had ChatGPT translate it. I'm not going to read from the translation. I'm going to translate it directly from the Hebrew. And if need be, then we will go to the English. But those of you who like looking on in English, let me know if you see anything drastically different than from what I say. Okay, that'll be your responsibility to like listen and like and see if there's anything drastically different. Okay. So without further ado, let's see. Okay, first thing we need to do is see what edition of the Rambam of the Pirkei Mishnayos, what edition of the Mishnah he has. Okay, because we have an actual manuscript from the Rambam himself, I believe. Rabbi Shmuel Beno Omer. Okay, so he attributes this to Rabbi Shmuel, not to Rabbi Tzadok. No, he's starting from our Mishnah from last time. That's why. Okay, Rabbi Tzadok Omer Lo Tasim Atar Liskadav Behem V'Lo Kardam Lecho Mehan. Okay, so he goes with the Kaufman manuscript. Kach Hayahila Omer Udiyish Tamish Betaga Chalaf Hakol Hanaos Midivrei Torah Natal Chay Bin Ha'olam. Anyone who benefits from words of Torah removes his life from the world. Okay. So he says like this, Kavar Matiti Lola Daber Bazeh Hativui. He says, I didn't want to talk about this commandment, okay? Lefishu Mavor, because it's clear. Ulio de'i gam kain shedavarai bo lo ye osu l'rov hagdolim b'Torah. And I also know that my words on the subject will not find favor among the majority of the gedolim in Torah, but ulai lakulam, and maybe all of them. Okay, which by the way, just pause there for 1 second. What's funny about those first two statements? Yeah, Vanessa?
If it's so clear, why would everyone disagree?
Exactly right. If it's so clear, then why do most or all of the Gedolim disagree, right? So the only option seems to be that like he holds that they're dead wrong, right? But still, I mean, you're gonna see the Rambam doing some weird, okay, look, my who are my AP English students, just Ayala. Okay, but you're gonna see a lot of rhetoric in this Rambam more than you're used to seeing, and I feel like that's its own study about like why is the Rambam making his point. He's gonna make it in very extreme language. Okay, but so yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, Vanessa.
I wonder, the commandment he's talking about is being paid for Torah, right?
Well, he's saying
Or
this
no?
this commandment of
Or
don't
just,
make the Torah into a crown or
oh, he's literally citing the Mishnah. Never mind. I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
wondering if like maybe he's like they'll all disagree with me because everyone wants that grandeur money, whatever you call it.
I
I
that's
wonder if he's
possible.
being that scathing,
We'll
but
see what he says. We'll see what he says. Yeah. Okay. So he says, Aval Omer velo echosh. I'm gonna say what I want, what I have, well, not what I want. I'm gonna say what I have to say, and I'm not gonna be worried. I'm not gonna have any concern. Mi bli lases panim lemisha kadam velo lemisha nimsa, without showing any favoritism to those who preceded me, nor to those who are present. Okay. There is a great statement from the Rambam, which I have on my wall. I don't know whose translation from the Mor Nevuchim this is, but this is a statement in the Mor Nevuchim. Hold on. Guide. Yeah. Rambam says in the Mor Nevuchim 3:7. Nope, that's not the one I wanted. Maimonides. Wait, did I spell it wrong? No, Rambam. Yeah, here we go. Nope, that's not the one either. Yeah, this one. He says, when I have a difficult subject before me, when I find the road narrow and can see no other way of teaching a well-established truth except by pleasing one intelligent man and displeasing 10,000 fools, I prefer to address myself to the one man and to take no notice whatsoever of the condemnation of the multitude. I prefer to extricate that intelligent man from his embarrassment and show him the cause of his perplexity so that he may attain peace, perfection, and be at peace. Okay, so that's like what the Rambam is going to do here. He's going to tell it to you straight. Okay. Yeah. All right. It's funny. He says, without showing any favoritism to those who came before me or those who are present. Okay, so he knows there are like present people who are going to come after him for this. Okay, so he says like this. You should know. Kizeh Kvar Amar, that this statement that he's already said, Al Tasei Torah Kardam Lachbar Ba, Don't make the Torah into a shovel to dig with. Klomar, al techashva kli leparnasa. Don't make it into a tool for a livelihood. Okay. Uber v'amar. I'm gonna actually, I don't know if this is wise or ill-advised, but I'm gonna highlight like I feel like what his main points are. Don't make it into a tool for livelihood. Uber v'amar, and he explains and says, Shekol mi sheyehene bazeh ha'olam bekavod ha'toras b'torah. Anyone who derives benefit in this world from the glory of Torah, or from the honor of Torah, from the esteem of Torah, shehu koris nafsho mechaye ha'olam haba. He's cutting his life off from life in the world to come. Okay, so already he's kind of answering like a bunch of our questions. Okay. Oh, we forgot the most important question of all. Sorry. Okay. The real question we're going to need to get is, at the end of the day, what are the practical parameters of this teaching? Okay, that's like, and when I say practical, this is why when I say practical, I mean like Pirkei Avos practical, okay, not psak halacha, okay, because that's a whole separate topic, or not topic, a whole separate endeavor. So right away he's saying that first of all, we're talking about benefiting from the honor of Torah, which obviously needs to be defined. Second is we're talking about benefiting from it in a worldly way, in this world, okay? Obviously, you can benefit from it for your soul, okay, which is not a worldly benefit. And then third, we're talking about you're going to get cut off from olam haba, okay, not this world, okay? So it's not like you're going to drop dead. V'helimo b'nei adam, and by the way, you can interrupt with questions or comments at any time, because it's going to be a very long Rambam. V'helimo b'nei adam einehem mizo halashon hagluya. People have concealed themselves, hidden their eyes from this open statement. Okay, in Pirkei Avos, v'hishlichuha achrei gavam, they've tossed it behind their backs. V'nitlu b'pshate ma'armaim shelo hivinu, and they've like latched themselves on to the simple reading of statements that they don't understand. Because you see what I mean? Like he's really talking in a very like forceful rhetorical way. Ani avarim, I'll explain it to you. V'hitilu lahem chukim al hayechidim vel hakehilos, and they have imposed literally like laws, okay, upon okay, this translation says regulations, that's a good translation, on individuals and congregations. Asu es haminuyim hatorim lechok machasim. They've made the Torah's Torah appointments a fixed tax. V'heviu b'nei adam lisbor shtus gemura, and they've caused people to think absolute idiocy. That this is necessary and obligatory. To make them think that it is necessary and obligatory to provide assistance for chachamim and students and people who are involved in Torah and who make Torah their profession. Okay, so let's pause here. Okay, so who does it sound like? Like, what does it sound like the scope of his criticism is based on these comments here? Like, how would you characterize it in your own words? And again, this question I'm going to ask you at every paragraph, so it's going to change, okay, as we go. But I'm saying based on what we've read so far. Yeah, Esty?
Sorry, just before even trying an answer,
Yeah.
when he says, I just don't understand. When he says people have ignored this and clung to the plain meanings.
Yeah.
What's the plain meaning that they clung to? Like,
So
like
he's going to show, so he's talking about other statements. So he's going to go through those other statements, which he will explain and say how people have learned those statements and then why they're wrong.
And they've used them wrongly to
impose regulations on individuals and communities, making the Torah's appointments a source of income, and led people to foolishly believe that it is necessary and obligatory to support scholars, students, and those who make Torah study their profession. Yeah, Tamar?
Sorry, were you asking about like a summary of this paragraph?
Yeah, like what in your, like he's, yeah, in your own words, what does it sound like the scope of his critique is here, or who is he aiming it at, or like what doesn't he like?
People who teach Torah shouldn't impose that other people should pay them for it.
Right. Okay. So it sounds like it is that. Okay, but it sounds like a specific social example of that. Yeah, Vanessa?
I'm not sure what you were getting at, but it also seems like not only should like, I don't know, I lost my point. I don't know
Okay.
how to answer your question.
I'm going to go ahead and just make a summary here, okay, just so we can keep track of this. Yeah, Esty?
But it sounds like there's some people in authority who have set up a system where people who don't understand believe that they're supposed to
Right.
pay, like a tax or something to support.
Okay,
Torah.
right. So it sounds like what he's doing here is he's we'll say the first point first. So he understands the Mishnah to be saying that if you make Torah, to be condemning those who make Torah into a source of livelihood. Okay, that's point number one. The consequence is that you will lose olam haba, and then it seems like his example number one is, I'm going to call this like people who, I guess, Torah scholars, right? Torah scholars who engage in a predatory practice of imposing, like, essentially taxes on the populace, leading them to believe that they are required or obligated to support to support their own to support the livelihood of Torah scholars. Okay, so we're not yet, okay, we'll get into this. We're not talking here seemingly about, I don't know, someone who charges money for a Torah lesson. Okay, that does not seem like what he's talking about now. He's talking about going to people and saying, hey, you guys have to, the Torah obligates you, or you guys have to give us a cut of this in order to support this, because it's something you have to do or you're obligated. Okay, that's how he starts off. Okay, but again, he's gonna give many examples, and that's the tricky thing about this Rambam. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, next. All of this is a mistake. In Torah, mashi amisoso. There's nothing in Torah that validates this. There's no feet for it to stand on in any way. Okay, again, I keep on marveling. Like, yeah, the Rambam sometimes uses sharp language, but this is a polemic. He's really going at it here. Okay, because if we look into the generations of the Chachamim, okay, into their biographies and their lives, Zichram Livracha, okay, of blessed memory. Lo nimtza etzlam lo hatalas chovos al bnei adam. We don't find them imposing any obligations on people. V'lo kibutz mammon liyeshivos hamaromamos hanichbados. Nor do we find them collecting money for yeshivas that are exalted and honored. V'lo l'roshei galios, v'lo l'dayanim, v'lo l'marbitei Torah, v'lo l'echad min hamamunim, v'lo l'shar anashim. Nor to the exilarchs. Okay, exilarchs were Reish Galusa, people who were descendants from the house of David, who were kind of like the exilic, like monarchy in exile. They're not actual kings, but they're like remnants of the Davidic dynasty, okay, which were in power for a long time. I don't know when they stopped. Okay, and nor for judges, nor for those who spread Torah, nor for any of those who are appointed, nor for any other people. Okay, Ella nimta kihilosehem kulan yeshvem ani betachlis. Rather, we find in all of their communities, all of them, there were people who were extremely poor, the ashir rav hamaman betachlis, and chachamim who were very rich. V'chalila lashem she'amar shehim lo hayu gomle chesed v'nosei tzedakah. God forbid to say that these people were not doers of chesed and givers of tzedakah. Elazeha oni ilu zehani ilu pashat yada lakachas hayum mamalim beso zahav margalios. If this poor Torah scholar were to reach out his hand to collect, they would fill his house with gold and precious gems. Avahu lo haya osakim, but he didn't do this. Elamis topik b'malacha she's parnis mimena. He was content with a malacha to get a livelihood from. Bein berevach, bein bedochach, whether making a profit or with barely scraping by. Ubaz lamashi b'dei adam hoil v'torah mena'ato mizeh, and he rejected what came from people because the Torah prevented him from this. Okay, so let me summarize, and then we'll discuss, and you can ask questions. Okay, so summary is that his this is evidence number one. Okay, is the history of Chazal. Okay, and he says none of them okay, in every generation, there were poor and rich people, and certainly if these poor Torah scholars reached out their hands, they would receive donations. Okay, but they didn't. Instead, they remained in they found a meager way to earn a living and remained on the brink of poverty. So that's number one. And then I'd say example number two. I mean, I don't think my classification is going to be very helpful. Okay, but look at the number of people that we find him singling out. Okay, yeshivos, exilarchs, judges, Torah instructors, and hold on, was that a bad translation? Oh, marbite Torah. Okay, people who spread Torah, and or any other people. Okay, so you see here. Okay, we're not just talking. That's not how you spell exilarch. Exilarchs. Okay, so we're not talking here just about people who teach Torah or learn Torah. We're talking about Torah institutions. We're talking about. I feel like that's not how you spell exilarch. Whatever. We're talking about exilarchs who are like a political, position. Judges, okay, people who are poskening, people who spread Torah, which I guess are Torah teachers and other stuff, and then other people. Okay, so the examples are much bigger here. All right, are those his points? Sorry, one more point here. He says there is no basis anywhere in Torah for this view. Okay, Vanessa?
This seems to be going beyond the Mishnah. It's not just saying don't make a crown of Torah, don't like use the Torah. It's saying like you're not supposed to seek grandeur for yourself regardless. Like you're not supposed to like be out of your station. I think
I don't think so, because so far all he's talked about is them collecting money.
It's about collecting money, but
Right.
what does an exilarch have to do with Torah?
Well,
It sounds like he's
exilarchs,
making the wrong.
right. Yeah, that's a fair question about what does exilarchs have to do with Torah. I actually don't know. Let me just quickly check out. I forgot if the exilarchs were supposed to be chachamim. Okay, exilarchs was the leader of the Jewish community in Persian Mesopotamia during the era of the Parthians, the Sasanians, and the Abbasid Caliphate up until the Mongol invasion of Baghdad in 1258. With intermittent gaps due to ongoing political developments, the exilarch was regarded by the Jewish community as the royal heir of the House of David and held a place of prominence as both a rabbinical authority and as a noble. Okay, right. So there was some rabbinical thing here. Oh, look at this. Within the Sasanian Empire, the exilarch was the political equivalent of the Catholicos of the Christian Church of the East and was thus responsible for community-specific organizational tasks, such as running the rabbinical courts, collecting taxes from Jewish communities, and supervising and providing financing for the Talmudical academies in Babylonia, and the charitable redistribution and financial assistance to needy members of the exile community. The position of exilarch was hereditary, held in continuity by a family that traced its patrilineal descent stemming from King David. So it was a partial rabbinical position, it seems.
So when I first read this Mishnah, I took it to be like, don't learn Torah and use. I took it more as like the intelligence of Torah. Like, don't take what you get from Torah and make a crown out of that. But it's saying like, don't even use like the name of Torah to like go around financing or.
Yeah, well, so that's the
point.
interesting thing is it does not seem to be that he's talking about using the intelligence from Torah. He seems to specifically be talking about so far collecting money in a way that has to do with Torah, right?
Yeah.
Even making livelihood and imposing on people, or even collecting for yeshivas. Okay. Yeah, Lauren?
I guess I don't know if he's going to bring this up, but we do have like the Kohanim and Leviim were supported by the people, and I know that was for
Yeah.
Duvi Avoda, but they were also the Torah teachers in their
Okay.
society. So
He's going to bring that up at the very end.
Okay.
Yeah, good question. Good intuition. Okay. Okay, so let's go on. Okay, so he says, examples. Ukvar yadata ki Hillel hazakin hayachotev. We know that Hillel was a wood chopper. Vahayachotev etim. He would chop wood. Velome lifnei Shemai v'Avtalion. He would chop wood and then learn in front of Shemai and Avtalion. He was the poorest guy. Uma'alaso ad ki talmidav heim asher hushvu lemoshe v'Yoshua. His level of learning was such that his talmidim compared him to Moshe and Yehoshua, which I didn't know, by the way. I didn't know we ever compared anyone to Moshe. The Katan Talmidav Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai. His most minor student was Yochanan Zakkai, who was like the one who saved all of Torah and like was a great Talmid Chacham. V'lo yisupak lebar das. No rational person could doubt. She'ilu haya maskim lekabel mi b'nei doro. If it was acceptable for Hillel to receive money from the people in his generation, lo haya manichim oso lachto veitzim. They would not have let him chop wood. Okay, so in other words, that's a good argument, right? Like, do you really think that Hillel wants to be out there chopping wood when he could be like learning Torah and teaching? Obviously not. So what's stopping him? Must be that there's something that's usher to stop him. V'Chananya ben Dosa, asher kol kore alav, kol ha'olam kulu enu nizon ela b'shvil Chananya. Okay, so Hanani Mendoza, who like I think this was a boss call, went out to, saying the entire world is only sustained because of Hanania, because of the merit of Hanania. Hanania b'nei and Hanania, my son. Oh, this is I guess his father talking. Dayo kav chruvin mi erev Shabbos to erev Shabbos. He basically subsisted on a handful of carobs from erev Shabbos to erev Shabbos. Okay, which is not a lot of food. Okay, right? So this is more examples. Okay, so we have here, I don't know if you want to consider this example, evidence one. I guess this is really 1B, right? Because he's just giving specific examples. Okay, Hillel and Hanania ben Dosa lived in dire poverty, and there's no way the wealthy people would have allowed that unless it was forbidden to support them with money. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. Okay, the Karna. Okay, Karna. I think this is Karna, which I was looking up right before, and I had an amusing thing. So if you look at Karna, you get a main protagonist of the Hindu epic Mahabharata. But if you look up Rav Karna, who was for some reason we just call Karna, okay, was Rabbi Babylonia, the first generation of Amoraim. Here we go. In the Babylonian Talmud, he appears simply as Karna, and in the Jerusalem Talmud as Rav Karna. Okay, fine. So if you look at Karna, Dayan B'chol Eretz Yisrael, he was a judge in all of Israel. V'hu haya mashke sados, he was an irrigator. Okay, he would water fields. Ukeshayu ba'im balei hadin, and when the litigants would come before him to be judged, haya omer, then he would say to them, oh, sorry, I have one more goal. I remember what it was now. The other goal is we will aim to discern, let's call them heterim, okay, is, let's just say, allowances within the Rambam's words for this topic, okay? You'll see what I mean right now. So he says, right. So when the litigants would come to be judged, Haya Omer, he would say, O shitnenu li mi sheyashke b'makomi kish'ani mis'asek imachem. So either you should give me a guy who's going to water the fields and like take my job while I'm judging you, O shetitnu li shiur mash evatal mi avodasi, or you give me an amount of money to compensate me for my work. V'adun lachem, then I will judge you. V'lo hayu Yisrael b'nei doram shel elu v'zulasam lo achzarim v'lo she'enam gom lechaz. Okay, so this is a by the way, ChatGPT broke up the paragraphs here. Okay, I asked it. By the way, when you translate, when you ask ChatGPT to translate, you got to remember, like, the only limit is like what your imagination limits. Okay, so I told ChatGPT translate this Rambam, but intersperse the Hebrew with the English so that I can see the Hebrew while I'm looking at the English, and then it like formatted it that way. So I didn't even have to do that. Okay, so evidence 1C is Karna was a waterer, okay, and a judge. And when people came to him for judgment, he asked them to provide a substitute waterer, okay, or give him, and I'm going to go ahead and introduce this term here, schar batela, okay, which is the recompense for being idle from his job, for the amount of time that it would take him to judge. Yeah, Tamar?
Practically, what's the substitute waterer doing? He's doing his job for him for free, and then Karna gets paid. It's like so that he can free him up to judge instead of doing his job.
Yeah, so I don't know if he's saying that like this guy is like volunteering to do his work, and then he's still getting, and then Karna's still getting paid for the watering, or if like I don't know if this is like a chesed or what, but it does seem to be that like, or if like maybe it's out of responsibility to the owner, like the owner's of the field is gonna like need this watered, so like at the very minimal he's gonna need someone to do this, and maybe he'll just fork over the wage to him, or pay me to to do it, and yeah, I'm not exactly sure. Okay, so then he so this is also this is heter number 1. Okay. Heter number 1, which is schar batela. Okay, so then he goes on and he says like this, velo hayu Yisrael. Actually, let me move this down because this is really this is really part of the next paragraph. There's that, and this really sorry, I'm messing all this up here. Okay, there we go. Karna copy. There we go. This goes here. No, it goes here. All right, whatever. I'll fix it later. Okay. So then he says like this. So he goes back and he reiterates a point from before. V'lo hayu Yisrael b'nei doram shal elu v'zulasim lo achzarim v'lo she'enam gom lechasadim. The Jews of their generations were not cruel, and they were not gom lechasadim. Okay, meaning they were gom lechasadim. V'lo matzanu chacham min chachamim shaya matzavam dachuk she'igane anshe doram she'enam marchivin lo. And we don't find anyone in their generation rebuking them. Chalila l'shem. Okay, God forbid. Elohim ba'atzmam hayu chasidim. They themselves were pious. Ma'aminim be'emes la'atzma. They believed in the truth for its own sake. Ma'aminim b'Hashem u'v'Torahs Moshe. They believed in Hashem and the Torah of Moshe. See, again, weird rhetoric here. Asher ba hazachia ba'olam haba. Through which you can merit olam haba. V'lo yatiu la'atzmam zeh. They did not permit themselves to do this. V'yisbru shehu chilul Hashem etzel ha'hamon. And they explained, or they thought, that it was a desecration of God's name among the masses. They would consider the Torah to be just another job that you get a livelihood from. And it would be degraded in their eyes. And the one who did this would be considered someone who despises the word of Hashem. Okay, so now he is making a bunch of more points. Okay, so this is now evidence number 2. Okay, which is, so he reiterated evidence 1, which is that there were people who could have helped them. Okay, hold on. Yeah, okay. And then evidence 2 is we don't find anyone rebuking the people in the generation of these poor sages for not sustaining them. Okay. And so he's saying, like, if it were permitted to sustain them, and let's say for some reason they just didn't, I don't know, they didn't ask or whatever, so then you'd find people like urging them to, same way that we find people today, like urging people to like support certain causes, you know? Okay, so that's this. And now he gives the first of his reasons. Okay, so this is now, yeah, this is a messy outline. Okay, reason number 1 is this will be a chilul Hashem in the eyes of the masses, who will come to regard Torah as just another job, and the esteem of Torah will be lowered in their eyes. Okay, so that is that's a big piece of the puzzle here. Okay. What do you think of this? Any thoughts? Yeah, Ella?
And I feel like in a lot of communities, teachers are not respected today. And I don't know
Right.
if it's because of this or because just like other flaws in society or whatever, but
Right.
it is interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So I actually want to convert that into a. Actually, I'll call on Vanessa first. Then I'll convert it into a heter. Yeah, Vanessa.
You can go into it. I was
No, go
just gonna say, I think this is like nice context. I think when you first read the Mishnah, it's more like, oh, like, are you doing something bad? Like, it's a like I thought of it more. It's like a meta issue, but it's like no, like you're desecrating the Torah if you're doing this. Right? I don't. I just
Yeah.
like it. I don't. Have
Yeah,
much,
yeah.
but
No,
that's my like
it
reflection.
makes it a lot more reasonable here. Okay, right? We are
Yeah.
concerned about the Torah. So I would say like this. Okay, the Rambam is saying like, so far the Rambam is saying that the real problem is the effect. Okay. Hypothetically, in other words, it's not intrinsic. Okay. And this is not an intrinsic problem. Okay. And this, by the way, well, I'll say it in a second. Therefore, if, hypothetically, if one could find a case in which the Torah would not be degraded in people's eyes, then perhaps a living, perhaps one could collect money for Torah. Okay, unless you're going to argue that that is intrinsically going to lead to a degradation. Okay, which is a fair argument. Okay, yeah, Lauren.
I guess I'm finding it weird that he keeps bringing up like we haven't found any evidence of people rebuking them, or we haven't found any evidence that people were lacking, as kind of like a proof that this is like he's saying this is a new thing that people are asking now to be
Yeah,
supported
it
with
does
their
seem like he's saying
Torah.
that, right? It seems like in
And
Chazal people didn't do this, but now in I guess his time and like from the ceiling of the Talmud, then it was a problem.
right, so I guess he's really focusing on the time period of the Talmud, I guess, because
Yeah.
yeah, because I guess that's kind of what I keep thinking about. 'Cause I keep thinking about Nevi'im, and I think there it's different. So
Okay, yeah. So I actually wanted to ask you to talk about that. So I think based on this, what might he say about Kohanim and Leviim? Question for
well,
anyone.
yeah, there I think you're obligated to support them because it's actual mitzvah, and the Torah tells you to give
Okay,
meiser
right.
for them.
Right. So it's true that it's a mitzvah, right? But what about fine, so you have to do it. But what would he say about the phenomenon though, about the Torah being degraded?
They also did degrade it, so they sinned, and then it led to getting degraded. But I guess that maybe would be a proof for him.
Which degradation are you talking about?
Well, I guess I'm just thinking about like Yeshayahu and Yirmiyahu, how like at those time periods, the Kohanim were, I don't know all of them, but they were more corrupt, and they used their power and positions
Right.
to exploit the people below. In that sense, making a
That's
show
true.
Hashem.
That's true. Okay, I hear that. Yeah. Okay, I hear that. Yeah. What I was thinking is that that at least by design, it seems like it was the opposite. Is that in the ancient world, people brought gifts to the priests, and it was a source of esteem. And if we had a Beis Hamikdash where we were not like bringing these these offerings and stuff, that would be the degradation. So I think you could like make a difference there. But your point is also good, as it could be abused like anything. Yeah, Vanessa.
I understand what's saying here. I'm not saying that this is wrong. I'm not disagreeing with wrong. I'm saying not the devil's advocate, but just to like see if there's a hole here.
You can play devil's advocate. It's just going to the wrong when you're wrong and you have no proof. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what if you could degrade? I can't use words. What if the opposite is true, and that like that system and all the proofs he stated were actually degrading to the Torah? Like you see this poor guy in a little cave in the mountains who's like studying Torah, and like if I was an onlooker, I'd be like, why is nobody helping him? What's this Torah that's making you so great? You're not helping this guy live. He doesn't have clothes on. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like,
so what do you think the Rambam would say to that? I think that's a good argument.
I don't know. It's not. That's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah. What do you think the Rambam would say to that? Like if you went up to
he cares more about the Torah than money. Maybe it's like more of an internal, external type of thing.
Right, but the concern here though is
religion. So I think that's why I'm struggling. What?
But the concern here is that it's a degradation to Torah, right? So the
Yeah.
guy can't say I care about more about Torah than money. Tamar?
I had a separate comment. It's
Separate?
not.
Yeah. In other words, let me write this down. Okay. So this is Vanessa's question is what if having poor Torah scholars like Hillel and Hanania was a degradation of Torah, right?
And I think the issue is less that they're poor and more seeing that people aren't helping them and aren't supporting them.
Yeah.
Like this guy's literally only eating carob trees. Like, okay, like you don't need to provide for his every whim and need, but like give him rice, give him more substantial food.
Yeah. So what would the Rambam answer to this? So I think the Rambam answer, okay, evidently it wasn't. Okay. The fact that we have no records in the words of Chazal of people rebuking these chachamim. Oops, sorry. These chachamim. What's going on with my keyboard? These chachamim for degrading Torah shows that it was not considered to be a degradation of Torah. Okay, I think that's a good argument. Meaning, look, people. You get one of two choices. You could say people then did not care about Torah, or they didn't know what constituted a degradation of Torah. And I don't think any of those is a good option. Or you could say they did not care about their fellow chachamim and they didn't rebuke them. And I think he's not willing to make any of those assumptions here. So evidently it was not a degradation of Torah. In the same way as, you might have a hard time imagining that, but I'll tell you, if you go to, I'm making this up because I don't really know the things. If you go to Nepal and you find, Tibetan monks who are living on meager rations, we Americans might say, how can you live like that? It's a degraded life. But for them, that's like an exalted life,
But I think what's bothering me is that we aren't an ascetic religion. Like that makes sense. I think that's what's grating me about this. It's that we don't have a value of like subsisting off a little. I think my first impulse while reading
He's not saying
it's
a value. He's not saying it's a value. He's saying he couldn't make money. Right? Like he was just making, in other words, he evidently he couldn't get a job that like made more money, or like he was unwilling to, and he was subsisting off of a little. So he knows he's not glorifying the fact that he only has these carobs, and Hill is not glorifying the life of a woodcutter. Presumably those were just the jobs that they had in order to get enough living to make it through, But the reason why I'm harping on this point here is I think that this is like a classic mistake that we make when we look back. Rambam would say this is a classic mistake that we make when we look back at any other society when we study history, is that we impose our own values on that society. And that's why I think his proof that no one in that society said anything is a strong proof. Like, the fact that no one in that society said, Hillel, you're degrading Torah by being a wood chopper. Like that shows us that it's our sense of what is like, degrading that is off.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
I think I got you towards the end. It's a different and
yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
I think
a
lingering point for me is like if we've always valued tzedakah, right? Like even from like the first, like that's the thing we have. Fine, you can still work. That I'd hear. You can still make a meager living, but like, why was no one going to Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai and like giving him something other than carrot?
That's exactly what he's saying. He's saying because it's usher.
But why is it usher?
It's usher because it's going to make Torah. It's usher because it's going to make Torah seem like a job, and people are going to degrade it.
Fine. Okay. Because
and that's
fine. I hear it.
The argument, right? I'm just going to make sure I highlight that. I forgot to highlight as we went on here. Where did he say it? This. Tomorrow was your other question?
This was back on the Kohanim and Leviim.
Yeah.
That I think that you don't have the same level of an issue of malachim and hamalachos, because instead of it's just anyone could choose, what am I going to do? Am I going to be a doctor or a lawyer? Or am I going to make money this way? It's a special group that's singled out by Hashem. They don't have land. It's like a separate construction. Right. It's not a job.
Okay, that's good. That's a very good point also. Okay. All right, let's go on.
I think that actually helps my tzedakah point also. Like
Okay.
those are people who are like mandated by Torah that like they have to benefit from like the other people
Right.
giving them
That's a
stuff.
good
And
point. Okay.
Torah
It's gonna
scholars
get
are not
worse.
mandated by that. So they
Yeah.
have to actually find their own.
Okay, it's about to get worse. Okay. Vamnam taos elo hamizgabrim keneged ha'emes. Okay, the error of these people who are misgabrim and neged emes is like they like muster themselves up to try to overpower the truth. V'halashonos hamufurashim, and these and these explicit statements, by taking money from people willingly or unwillingly, which by the way, now he's expanded it. Okay. Beforehand, he was talking about people. I mean, he started off by talking about people who impose regulations on the communities and say you need to or you're obligated to. Then he started talking about tzedakah and chesed, and now he's including in his indictment people who give willingly or unwillingly. Hein hamaisios asher yimtzu b'talmud banashim bali mumin b'gufil hosehem. So these people who like are arguing against the Rambam are basing their statements on people who have physical blemishes in their bodies. Ozakinim ba'u bayamim ashli yuchlu lasos malacha. And people who were advanced in age who could not do malacha. She'en tachbulu lahem ela lakachas. They had no other recourse except to take money. Vim lo, and if not, ma yasu hayamusu. What should they do? Die? Okay. So notice. Okay. Well, I'll summarize in a second. Ze lo tiva b'Torah. The Torah does not command you to die. Okay, that's clear. The ata timsa hamaise asher heviu raya ma'amaro haisa ka'anios socher mimercha tavilach. Oh, I was just teaching this in Mishneh class today. She's like a merchant ship bringing her food from far. Bibal muam. That's talking about a person who has physical ailments. Lo yuchal lasos malacha, who cannot do malacha. About im hayacholes lo himsia haTorah derech. But if you have the ability, then the Torah does not provide a path for this type of thing. Okay, so summary here is he's saying so this is like refutation of counter argument. Actually, so this is the implicit counter argument. Counter argument. Okay. Number one. Okay, there are statements in the Gemara in which Chazal collected money. Okay, so his refutation is in these cases, these were cases of people who were, who had disabilities which precluded their livelihoods. Okay, and those people are certainly entitled to take tzedakah. Okay, because the Torah does not command you to starve to death. Okay, and this I think would also obviate the problem of people who view it as a degradation, because obviously, like, if you have let's take who was Rav Sheshes was blind, and I don't think blind people really had jobs back then. So like, is someone going to really look at Rav Sheshes, getting supported by people and say, oh, this guy is a bum, he's not working? Like, no, of course not, right? They're gonna say he can't work, fine, okay. So and then he says counter argument 2, which I'm not familiar with this, and he's not going into it, so I'm not going to, is the Mishlei pasuk and refutation is that is specifically about a blemished person. Okay, and I think we look this up, then we'll see that that's the case, but I'm not gonna look it up now. We have bigger fish to fry. Okay. Rav Yosef alav shalom hayanose eitim. Rav Yosef was a wood carrier. Okay, Vomer, he would say, Gedola malacha shemachamemes es baleha. Great is work because it warms up the body. Okay, Ritzon Lomar shebesi gios evarav yichubad mishkavam. When his limbs would get tired, I think this is just an honorific here. Yichubad mishkavam made their resting place be honored. Bimasa ha'etz hachave, which was with a carrying a heavy load of wood. Hay mischamim gufa below safek. His body would be heated up. Hay meshbeach zeh, and he was happy about this. The sameach bo, and he rejoiced in it. B'hay libo tov b'matanas chalko, and his heart was glad with the gift of his portion. Biglama shaya etzlo mimalas ha'histapkus, due to the virtue of self-sufficiency. Okay, so this is his evidence number 3, right? We're up to 3. Yeah, I'm not again. I'm not sure if this categorization is good. Why is my computer so hot? That's not a good thing. Maybe it's because it's hot out. I don't know. All right. So Rav Yosef loved work. Okay, he said it was a good workout. And he was content with being content with little. Okay, yeah. All right. Ukvar shamatim haniftim nitlim ba'amram. So I've heard these people who have been like misled attach their statement to the following, because here's another statement. Okay, this is a counter argument number 3. Okay, so counter argument number 3. Okay, so it says Harote lehanos yehane ke Elisha. One who wants to derive benefit, he can benefit like Elisha. V'shelo lahanos al yehane ke Shmuel haramasi. Then he is entitled to not benefit like Shmuel haramasi. V'zeh. Okay, so that is I'm just going to copy and paste this. Okay, so again, if we were thorough, we would look this up. But I'm just going to follow the Rambam's reasoning here. So apparently, like, people point to the statement and say, "Oh, I can be like Elisha." And I mean, I don't know if this is referring to the fact that Elisha, like, took hosting from the woman at the inn, but like that's accepting, lodging from someone. Okay, so what happens, or what does he say? Zeh eno dom l'zeh klal. This has nothing to do with our topic. This is a corruption of that which they're bringing a proof from. Because it's clear and there's no room for error. Elisha Elisha did not accept money from anyone. Certainly he did not impose upon them regulations as a law. God forbid. He just accepted honor. So he was traveling on the way, and he would lodge by a person and eat with him on that night or by day, and he would go on his way. So in other words, he was not doing this in a way of taking money. He was just doing it as like receiving an honor. Like this guy wanted to honor Tamid Chachamim, and so he took it as honor. Shmuel didn't enter into anyone's house. Where Shmuel did not eat anything from anyone. So what Chazal is saying is, if you want to emulate this, actually, you kind of say to the point where you don't want to eat anyone's food. You can do that. Or if you want to be a guest at someone's house when you're traveling, or something like that, you could do that. They already warn against eating for no reason. So they said Chacham should not have excessive meals. Or any Talmid Chacham, any suda that's not of a mitzvah, it's also for Talmid Chacham to benefit from. Okay, so he's saying like this, is these people did not, Elisha did not collect money from people, neither willingly nor against their will, nor as nor in an imposed manner. Okay, rather he allowed a host to honor him by providing him with lodging and a meal on occasion. Okay, not as a fixed practice. Yeah, tomorrow.
The counter argument here is saying, oh, since there's this statement, that means there's a way to benefit and therefore I can collect money.
Yes. And then he's saying, no, it's not the benefit that you think. Okay, now I'm going to say here that there is, I think, another room for heter here. Okay, which is possible heter number 4. We're up to 4? No, 3. Possible heter number 3 is if the Talmid Chachamim is receiving these benefits as a way of of honoring him, okay, which is a mitzvah, okay, to honor Chachamim. Okay, the Rambam is going to come back to that later. Okay. V'lama arich b'zayin. Why should I go on at length of this? Ani ezkor hamaise asher hisbar b'tamid. Okay, this is the most difficult one. Okay, I'm going to mention, and this is a hilarious story in my opinion. Okay, I'll tell you the story that's in the Talmud. V'hamis akish, and if you're stubborn, yaseh k'tona, do what you want. Okay, if you're too stubborn to like take the truth, just do whatever you want. Haya ish hayalo kerem. Okay, there was a guy with a vineyard. Okay, and thieves would come to it. Okay, so this guy was being robbed or stolen from. And he would check it out every day. And the grapes were diminishing. And he knew without a doubt that that he was like that one of the thieves had made it a point to steal from his vineyard. Okay, it wasn't like a happenstance thing. It was like someone was targeting him. And he was aggrieved by this throughout all the grape season. To the point where like they took whatever they took. Sorry, he harvested whatever he harvested. And he spread it out to dry. And he gathered raisins. And it's the normal way when people gather when they gather dried fruit. Yiplu gargarim min hateinim v'hatimukim. So then some grapes and raisins fall. Umuter locham, and it's permissible to eat them for like poor people to eat them. Because they're ownerless. And the owners typically like just leave them because of how few they are. Okay. Ubar Rabbi Tarfon, Rabbi Tarfon was walking along, happened to come upon his day, Yom Echad, one day, to that vineyard. V'yashav, and he sat down, and he gathered some of these raisins that fell, which he was totally entitled to do. Uba Bala Kerem, and the owner of the vineyard came. He thought, this is the guy who's been stealing from me all year. Okay, he did not recognize it was Rabbi Tarfon. Well, Shama Shemo, but he heard his name, Umihir Elav V'tafso. And he ran and he grabbed him. Okay, he's Gaberlav, and he overpowered him. V'samehu basak, and he put him in a sack. Okay, Varatimo al Gabul Hashliu Banahar. He was going to go throw Rabbi Tarfon into the river. Okay, so he thinks this is the thief, and I'm taking justice into my hands, and I'm going to throw him to the river. Okay, so what would you do if you were Rabbi Tarfon? Let's use the what would you say?
No, I'm just Rabbi Tarfon, and I wasn't stealing.
Okay, I'm Rabbi Tarfon. I wasn't stealing, right? Seems to be reasonable. So what happened? Because Rabbi Tarfon when he saw himself about to perish, tza'ak. Okay, I'm hiding in English so you don't get the punchline. So he cried out, "Oi lola Tarfon shezeh horago! Woe to Tarfon, who this guy is killing him." Okay, because Shama zeh bala kerem, when the owner heard him. Heard him. He dropped him and ran. Okay, so I guess he recognized Rabbi Tarfon's voice. Liodao ki chatache gadol. He knew that he made a big whoopsie. Okay, like he almost killed Rabbi Tarfon. V'haya Rabbi Tarfon b'she'eri. Okay, now this is the amazing part. V'haya Rabbi Tarfon b'she'eris yamav me'osu hayom doev umiyalil al ma she'erlo. For the rest of his days, Rabbi Tarfon was pained and in anguish about what happened to him. Why? B'hatzilo nafsho b'kavod haTorah, because he saved himself with the honor of Torah. V'hu haya bal mamon, but really Rabbi Tarfon was really rich. V'haya yachol lomar lo, he could have said, hanicheni v'ani ashalim l'cha kaf l'chach dinarim, leave me and I'll pay you $1 million. V'shalim lo, and he would have paid him. V'lo yodiehu shu Tarfon, he would not have made known to him that he was Tarfon. Okay, so I guess I was wrong that he recognized his name. Okay, but so he's saying he could have like found a way to like pay him off, and he wouldn't have recognized that he's Tarfon. V'yatzil nafsho b'mamono v'lo b'Torah, and he could have saved himself with his money and not with Torah. Okay, Amru, and they say, Chazal say, Kol yamav shaloso tzadik hay mitztar al davar zeh. All the rest of his life, then he was aggrieved by this matter. V'omer, and he said, Oili shinishtamashti b'kisra shel Torah. Woe unto me, because I used the crown of Torah. Shekol mishtamash b'kisra shel Torah. ne'akam min olam. Anyone who uses the crown of Torah is uprooted from the world. V'amru b'zeh, and they said about this, Mishum de Rabbi Tarfon asher gadol hava v'hava le lefi siume b'damim. And Rabbi Tarfon was very wealthy, and he should have placated him with money. Okay, so this is a big new application here. Okay, so this is evidence number, what are we up to now? Evidence number 3. Okay, is Rabbi Tarfon regretted, or I guess was considered himself to have done the wrong thing when he saved his own life by through the kavod haTorah, when he could have saved his life with his money and not use the kavod haTorah. Okay, now in case anyone is just missing this point, I just want to clarify: if Rabbi Tarfon were not wealthy, he definitely would be allowed to use kavod haTorah, because you could save your life with that, right? But he's saying, his life was in danger, but he could have gotten out of it by bribing the guy, and then no one would have known that it was Rabbi Tarfon, and then he wouldn't have done this. So this now seems to be a huge, this is very different than collecting money from someone and giving a tax. This is just utilizing the crown of Torah, and it even uses that phrase. Woe to me for having used the crown of Torah. Yeah, Tamar?
I'm just also thinking it's interesting that he didn't even say anything about Torah. It's just that he was known as a Torah scholar and he used his own name.
Mm-hmm. That was it. And what I don't quite get, by the way, and I thought I misread it, but I didn't. The guy says, "V'lohai makiro of Hashama shemo." He didn't recognize him, but he heard his name, right? So I guess he heard his name and just thought it was a different Tarfon, right? I don't know. Yeah, Vanessa?
I wonder if just by saying it that woe to Tarfon, it was that's clunky wording. Maybe he was oh, he's calling attention to his name. This must be some great guy who
Oh, right, that could
also,
be right.
Imagine carrying a guy all the way to the river, and then right before you throw him in, he's saying something. He probably was okay, something's up with this guy that he just said it. Clearly
Yeah, right.
I messed up.
Right. It's like if you're about to throw in the river, and he's like, "Well, there goes Rav Moshe,"
Yeah.
So he's yeah, right. That is probably something like that. Yeah. Okay. Now here's another weird story. Upasach Rabbeinu Hakadosh Alav Shalom Otros. So Rabbi Yehuda Nasi was very wealthy. Okay. By the way, you see ChatGPT automatically translated Rabbeinu HaKadosh as Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, right? I didn't even have to ask it for that. And by the way, I think that, again, translation has been great so far. All right. It's just incredible. Okay. Pasuk Rabbeinu HaKadosh Alav Shalom Otros Chita B'Shnas Ravon. So Rabbi Yehuda Nasi opened his storehouses, his silos of wheat during a year of famine. For Amar, he said, Kol mi shirota lakachas parnasaso yavo v'yikach parnasaso. Anyone who comes and wants to take their livelihood, come and take their livelihood. Ubetanai sheyeh talmid chachamim, as long as he is a talmid chacham. Ba Rabbi Yonasan ben Amram v'amar lefanav. Rabbi Yonasan came and stood in front of him, but who ain't a makira, and he didn't recognize him. Okay, now you gotta think here. I mean, presumably this is like the a situation like a big college class, right, where there's hundreds of students. So he's not necessarily going to know him. This is Yehuda Nasi. He was the author of the Mishnah, teaching all these people. So he didn't recognize him, or maybe he didn't. Maybe he was a lot of wearing a different clothing or something. V'amar and Rabbi Yonasan said, "Parnaseni, sustain me, give me my livelihood." V'amar and he said, "Be'ezo madrega atalim b'limud. Where are you at in your learning? Where are you holding in your learning, as they say today?" V'amar and he said to me, "Parnaseni kekelev u'k'orev. Sustain me like a dog or a raven." Rutzon Olomar, meaning to say, Afilu ein li chachma, even if I don't have chachma. Just like God sustains a non-kosher animal, a non-kosher bird, so too you should sustain me. There's no an ignoramus is not less than those animals. Vanasalon, he gave him. Okay. Now shuv hischaret, he later regretted giving him. Achakach al shepitehu b'devarim. Over the fact that he seduced him with his words. V'amar, and he said, I'm just going to finish this story. Oy li shenehne amhar's minachasai. So Yehuda Nasi said, woe unto me that this ignoramus benefited from my possessions, my property. V'amru lo osam asher hodiam mash era. So the people who were there told him what happened. Ula Yonasan ben Amram tamidechahu. Maybe it was your student Yonasan ben Amram. Asher eno rotze lehanos bekavod Torah. Maybe he didn't want to benefit from the kavod of the Torah. Koshe efshar lozeh vafilu b'tachbula, and he was trying as much as possible, even through trickery. V'chakar amata darkein. He investigated and he found it to be the case. Ushne ela hamasim yashtiku kol cholek b'zeinin. And these two stories will shut up anyone who argues. Yeah, Vanessa.
Not to be the person the Rambam's angry at, but why, if this is such a bad thing to feed Torah scholars, then why is Rabbi Yehuda and Nasi opening up the Torah
right?
to the Torah scholars?
I know, that's a big problem that I have as well. Okay, so let's first say his evidence, then we'll raise the question. So his evidence is Rabbi Yonasan faked being an Am Haaretz so that he wouldn't derive benefit from Kavod HaTorah. Okay. But then the question on this, our question is, why did Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, Davka, like, provide a livelihood for Torah scholars? Okay. Like, isn't that a violation of this principle? Now, you could have an easy answer. What's the easy answer? Yeah, Vanessa?
I don't know if this is an easy answer, but it's the answer I have, which is he opened it to Torah scholars. Like, you could have been rich and just benefiting, and like, this could be political. This could be like getting close to Rabbi Yehuda and Nasi, or like, there could be motives besides getting the food.
That's true. That's true.
Know if that's what
I have an
going
even
for.
easier answer. Okay, it was a famine, right? So people, he didn't, what do you call it? And people would die if he didn't provide. And once he's providing, then prioritizing Talmidei Chachamim is a kavod to them. Okay, in a mitzvah way. Okay, yet Rabbi Yonasan wanted to avoid it as much as possible, since he had another means, just like Rabbi Tarfon. Yeah. Okay. So I think that's the easiest answer. Okay. I think we're almost at the end of the Rambam's treatise here. Okay, so now he says his actual allowance. Okay, he says what did the Torah permit Talmidei Chachamim to do? Hold on. So he says, Sheyitnu mamon la'adam. So the Torah permits the Talmidei Chachamim to give their money to another person. Yaseh lahem schora bo bebechiraso, who will conduct business with it based on his own choice. Im yirtzeh, if he wants to. V'oseh yesh lo sachar al kach, and the guy who is doing this is paid for it. V'zehu matil milay lekis la Talmidei Chachamim. Okay, this is they translate this here as placing inventory in the pocket of Talmidei Chachamim. V'shetimacher schorasam tchila lamashi macher v'tispases lahem reishis hashuk davka. Additionally, their merchandise is to be sold first before the other merchandise, and they are given precedence in the marketplace specifically. Okay, so this is now heter. This is a definite heter. Number, what are we up to now? 4. Okay, is the Talmidei Chachamim can give their money to another person to manage, and give him a cut of the profits. Okay, now anyone know a famous Talmid Chacham in the Rambam's generation who did this? Answer is the Rambam. Okay, anyone know how the Rambam got his living in the first part of his life?
From his brother.
His brother, right? So there's a letter where he talks about how when his brother died in a tragic I don't know if it was an accident or a pirate attack, but his brother was a merchant who was on a ship, and the ship sank in the Indian Ocean. And so the Rambam, when he's writing about it, said that my brother had his own money and my money and the money of a bunch of other people. And so it seems like the Rambam had that sort of relationship with his brother. Okay. Then definite heter number 5 is Talmidei Chachamim get first crack at selling their merchandise. Okay, and that's actually part of the halacha of lidabik b'chachamim. Okay, elu. Now here's where he gets to kohanim. Elu chukim shekava Hashem lahem. These are the policies or the laws that Hashem established for them. K'mo shekava hamatanos lekohen v'maisros lelevi. Just like he established gifts for the kohen and tithes for the Levi. L'fima sheba b'kabbalah. Just according to what has been received in the tradition. These two actions. Oh, so this is interesting. Okay, these two actions. These two actions are sometimes done by other merchants as a way of giving kavod to each other. Even without chachma. Okay, that's interesting. So this is either a new heter. Okay, this is either definite heter number 6 / explanation of heterim 4 and 5. Okay, which is that anyone is permitted to do for a Talmid Chachamim any beneficial practice which is done with regular merchants who have no chachma, okay, as a way of kavod. Okay, so for example, like if let's say I'm going to use another example. Let's say like you have like an old man who like has been selling his merchandise at this shuk for like 50 years, so people will give him the kavod of selling first because he's an old man or because he's a veteran or because everyone likes him, so the fact that they do that for him means that when you do it for a chacham, it's not going to be categorically perceived as he's using his Torah to get an advantage, because people do this all the time. This is just a category of giving kavod. Okay, and same thing with managing money, right? There's nothing that like people have financial managers and financial advisors all the time, right? And they pay them, so no one's going to say, oh, this rabbi is giving his money to someone to manage it. That's an abuse of Torah. Like that's just not going to be in their heads. Okay, one more, right? The Torah exempts the Talmidei Chachamim from all governmental obligations or civic obligations. Min hamasim, from taxes. Min ha'achsadnios, from what is this? Billeting? I have no clue what billeting is. Anyone know what that is? What here? What does billeting mean? Oh, assigning soldiers to live in private homes. Okay, that's we have amendments against that. So from billeting, where are we? Umase hanefesh. Okay, personal taxes. V'heim asher yikro kesef gulgulta. This is called head money. Yifram ba'avuram hakal. So they are paid by the community. Ubinyan achomos v'gitvin, and building of walls and other stuff. Afilu haya talmid chachamim bal mamon rav lo yichui b'davar mizeh. Even if he's very rich, then he's exempt from this. Okay, so this is another definite heter. Okay, which is very interesting. So definite heter number 7 is all the rights that the Torah gives to Talmidei Chachamim, okay, which are independent of his wealth, okay, which might be another thing where like it's not going to look like he's making this into a job, because it's clearly a class thing, not a livelihood thing, And again, it's very hard for us to relate to this because we're in America, but like, in the majority of societies, you had people who were like in classes that were just exempt from certain like taxes and stuff, Okay. Ukvar hora b'zeh Rabbana Yosef Halevi, Zatzal ish ba'andalus. Yosef Halevi, I think that's the Rimigash. already ruled in this matter for a man in Andalus. Shayulo ganus ukramim shayamuchuyav avuram elef dinarim. So this guy had gardens and vineyards that he would liable for $1,000. Vahura lefotra mehamas. And Rav Yosef Alevi ruled to exempt him from the tax, lioso talmid chachamim, because he was a Torah scholar. Even though the poorest of Jews paid that tax. Okay, so that's, again, it seems unfair to us, but we're in a different system. Din Torah, Torah this is Torah law, just like the Torah exempts the Kohanim from the half shekel. Okay, it's just like the Kohanim. Okay, oh, sorry, and that's it. The rest is not the Rambam. Okay. So that's the Rambam's long thing. Okay. I want to actually just read. Oh man, it's already been an hour and a half. I actually think we should stop here. I do want to tell you though what I want to do next time. Okay, which is that the Rambam in the Mishnah. Actually, I'm going to read this, but not the footnote. Yeah, I'm just going to read one halacha here. Okay. This is in Hilchos Talmud Torah 3:10. Anyone who sets his heart on being involved in Torah and not doing work, visparnes mina tzedakah, and takes a livelihood from tzedakah. Harizeh, this person, chilul Hashem, he desecrates God's name. Ubiza es Torah, degrades the Torah. V'chiba ma'or hadas, extinguishes the light of the religion. V'garam ra la'atmo, causes evil to himself. V'natal chayav min ha'olam haba, takes his life out of the world to come. Lefisha asar lehanos b'divrei Torah ba'olam hazeh. Okay, so I want to understand that, and then what we have on the side is like a summary of other statements from the Rambam where it clarifies like what the parameters are. Okay, so we did not get through everything today, and I actually don't want to go and try to answer all of our questions because we're still getting ideas. But if this is the first time you've seen this treatise of the Rambam, I hope you found it interesting. If it's the second time you've seen it, then I hope you saw new stuff, because I certainly saw new stuff this time around. And now you got stuff to think about. And the question is like this: what are the other Chachamim going to say? Okay, and I know, don't tell the Rambam that I said that there's room for another position, okay, because he says it's clear and there's no way that there's any other position. But, you know, in case you haven't noticed, people get paid for teaching nowadays, okay? Community rabbis get a salary, you know? Some of us have a paid Substack and Patreon and contributions, you know? Yeshivas collect money. Yeshivas charge money for tuition, right? So, like, this is clearly the Rambam did not win this one. Okay, so the question is like, these are all heterim within the Rambam. So that's gonna be the question of like, how are these things justifiable, and would the Rambam say they're justifiable or not? Okay. All right, we'll stop here for today, and then Ayala, I will turn off the recording, and then you can tell me what you're gonna tell me, and Bleednet will pick up next time, and no shiur tomorrow. All right, now how do I stop the recording on the new Zoom? I think I have to go there.